"We don't need another squad," the young ranger whispered. His voice barely carried over the gunfire. "We need a savior." Captain Ethan Cole pressed his back against the remains of a concrete wall as another round struck the street in front of him. Dust jumped from the pavement. Broken glass trembled in the window frames above. Nobody moved. For 43 minutes, Cole's team had been trapped inside a ruined block on the eastern edge of Darren Province. Their convoy had entered the district before sunrise, expecting a routine extraction. Instead, the lead vehicle had been disabled at the intersection, their radio antenna had been destroyed, and a hidden sniper had turned every open doorway into a threat. 2 Rangers were wounded behind an overturned transport truck. Sergeant Miles Carter lay beside them, one hand pressed against his damaged radio headset, repeating the same call into a channel filled with static. "Ranger 2 to command. We are pinned down. Request immediate support." Only silence answered. Cole looked across the street. The buildings were gray shapes behind smoke and drifting sand. Every window was dark. Every rooftop seemed empty. But somewhere inside that maze, a rifle was waiting. The enemy shooter had fired 7 times. 7 precise shots. No wasted ammunition. No panic. No clear pattern. The first round had destroyed their communications equipment. The second had struck the engine of the backup vehicle. The others had landed close enough to stop every attempt at movement. The sniper was not trying to finish them quickly. He was controlling them. Cole knew what that meant. Someone else was coming. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in courage and respect, hit like and subscribe. These stories inspire change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Maya. A low explosion rolled somewhere beyond the southern buildings. Cole checked his watch. They had less than 10 minutes before the enemy closed the block. "Smoke?" Carter asked. "Wind's wrong," Cole replied. "It'll clear before we reach the truck." "What about the alley?" Cole looked east. A narrow passage ran between 2 damaged apartment buildings. It was the only route that seemed protected from the sniper's line of fire. It was also too obvious. "No," Cole said. "That's where he wants us." Private Owen Reeves sat near the wall, breathing too quickly. He was 21, 6 months out of Ranger school, and trying hard not to look toward the wounded men behind the truck. "We can't stay here, sir." "I know. We can't move either." "I know." Reeves lowered his voice. "That's why I said it." Cole turned toward him. "Said what?" Reeves swallowed. "That we need a savior." No one laughed. In another place, on another day, the word would have sounded foolish. Here, it sounded accurate. Then Carter raised his head. Movement. West end of the street. Every rifle shifted toward the drifting smoke. A lone figure appeared between 2 abandoned vehicles. Not a squad. Not a rescue team. One person. The figure moved calmly through the open street, carrying a long rifle case in one hand and a small field pack over one shoulder. Cole stared. The newcomer was a woman. She wore a dust-covered combat uniform with no visible unit patch. Her dark hair was tied behind her head. She was shorter than most of the Rangers watching her, and she walked without hurry, as though the bullets and smoke belonged to another world. "Get down," Carter shouted. She did not. A rifle cracked from somewhere above. The woman stopped one step before the round struck the pavement near her boot. Not after. Before. She looked toward the northern buildings. Then she continued walking. The Rangers watched in silence as she crossed the final stretch of road and slipped behind their wall. Cole grabbed her arm and pulled her lower. "What are you doing out there?" She set the rifle case on the ground. "Finding you." Her voice was quiet, controlled, almost cold. Cole looked past her. "No support team?" No spotter." "No." Carter stared at the case. "You walked into a sniper-controlled street alone?" The woman released the latches. Inside lay a precision rifle worn smooth along the grip, its metal scratched by years of field use. She lifted it with the ease of someone picking up a familiar tool. Cole studied her face. "Who are you?" She ignored the question. Instead, she moved beside the damaged wall, studying the bullet marks, the shattered antenna, and the windows across the street. "How long between shots?" she asked. Cole hesitated. 8 to 10 seconds. "Always from the same direction?" "We can't confirm." She crouched beside the first impact point and brushed 2 fingers across the concrete dust. "2 positions," she said. Carter frowned. "You saw that from one mark." She looked at the second building. "No. I heard him move before he fired at me." The men exchanged glances. The woman opened a small weather meter and watched the numbers change. Reeves leaned toward Cole. Sir, is she the support? Cole looked at the lone sniper kneeling in the dust. No, he said quietly. Across the street, a shadow shifted behind a broken window. The woman saw it. Her expression did not change. She's not support. She loaded one round into the rifle. She's the answer. Maya Cross did not look like anyone's idea of a savior. She stood barely 5'5", with dust across her cheek and a torn strap hanging from her field pack. Her uniform carried no unit patch, no name tape, and no rank visible beneath the brown scarf wrapped around her shoulders. Only the rifle spoke for her. It was long, dark, and worn along the stock where thousands of hours had polished the surface smooth. There were no decorative markings, no engraved motto, no bright insignia announcing who had carried it before. Captain Ethan Cole watched her settle behind the broken wall. Every movement was quiet, measured. She unfolded the rifle's bipod, checked the chamber, then removed a small notebook from her vest. The pages were covered with numbers, wind symbols, elevation marks, and handwritten corrections so compact they looked like code. Sergeant Derek Holt stepped closer. He was the best marksman in Cole's Ranger team, and the only man who had nearly located the enemy shooter before a round shattered the wall beside his head. Holt looked Maya over once. Then again. You the replacement sniper? He asked. Maya continued writing. No, then what are you? She raised the weather meter into the air. Busy. A faint laugh passed between two Rangers nearby. Holt did not smile. He had spent 12 years earning his place in the regiment. He had trained in mountain warfare, urban tracking, and advanced reconnaissance. He had buried men who made one careless movement at the wrong time. And now a woman with no visible rank had walked into his kill zone and acted as though she owned the ground. You crossed an open street with a shooter watching it, Holt said. That wasn't skill. That was luck. Maya lowered the meter. Luck would have been crossing without knowing where he was. Holt's jaw tightened. You know where he is? I know where he was. That's not the same thing. No, she said. It's usually more useful. Cole stepped between them before Holt answered. Cross, command sent you? Command lost contact 12 minutes ago. Then how did you find us? Maya pointed toward the damaged convoy. Smoke column. Then toward the northern rooftops. Echo pattern. Then to a line of footprints barely visible beneath the dust. And whoever trapped you here expected reinforcements from the west. Cole followed her finger. The footprints moved through a doorway and vanished inside a collapsed building. Enemy scouts. Close. Too close. Cole looked back at her. You saw all that while crossing the street. I saw enough. Behind them, one of the wounded Rangers groaned. Maya turned immediately. The soldier lying behind the overturned vehicle was Corporal Benjamin Shaw. A bullet had struck his shoulder, and another fragment had cut across his side. The team medic had stopped the bleeding, but reaching him again meant crossing several feet of exposed ground. Maya studied the distance. How long has he been there? 26 minutes, Cole said. Conscious? Barely. She removed the field pack from her shoulder. Holt caught her wrist. You go out there, he'll shoot you. Maya looked down at his hand. Holt released her. You think you're the first sniper to walk into a bad position and believe she sees something everyone else missed? No, then start acting like it. Her eyes met his. They were not angry. That made the silence worse. I don't believe I see something you missed, she said. Holt lifted his chin. Good. I know I do. The Rangers nearest them stopped moving. Holt took one slow step forward. Cole raised a hand. Enough. But Maya was already looking past them. Her attention had shifted to 3 bullet scars in the wall. She crouched and placed her fingers beside the marks. The first was deep and clean. The second had chipped the concrete differently. The third had entered at a lower angle. She glanced toward the rooftops. He isn't alone. Cole felt the air change. How many? 2 shooters. Holt shook his head. No. 1 rifle. Same report every time. Same weapon platform, Maya said. Different rhythm. She tapped the first impact. This shooter exhales before firing. Stable trigger control. Her finger moved to the second. This one rushes. Then the third. And the second shooter is lower. 4th floor, maybe 5th. Holt stared at the marks. Maya opened her rifle case fully and removed a compact spotting optic. Your first sniper is keeping you pinned. She placed the optic against a crack in the wall. The second is waiting for you to take the alley. Cole looked east again. The narrow passage suddenly seemed darker. What's in the alley? Maya focused the lens. Nothing yet. A faint metallic click echoed between the buildings. Her expression hardened. Give them another 5 minutes. Cole heard it then. Not gunfire. Not footsteps. A wire being pulled tight. Maya lowered the optic. They're not surrounding you. She slid around into the rifle. They're building a grave. Sergeant Derek Holt stared toward the eastern alley. Nothing moved there. That was the problem. The passage was too clean compared with the rest of the district. No loose debris. No abandoned carts. No civilians hiding behind the broken doors. Someone had cleared it. Someone wanted the Rangers to believe it was safe. Holt looked back at Maya. You're guessing. Maya kept her eye against the spotting optic. No, you heard one piece of wire and decided the entire alley is rigged. I heard tension being added to a line. That could be anything. It could. She adjusted the focus. But it isn't. Holt let out a bitter breath. Around them, the team remained silent. Some watched the rooftops. Others watched Maya, uncertain which threat deserved more attention. Captain Cole studied the alley again. We plan to move through there. I know, Maya said. How? The sniper stopped targeting your wounded. Cole frowned. Maya lowered the optic. If he wanted maximum casualties, he would have finished the men behind the truck. Instead, he fired near every ranger who tried to approach them. He was denying rescue, Holt said. He was shaping movement. Maya pointed east. Every shot pushed you closer to that route. Every impact made the western side look worse. He wasn't trapping you in this block. She looked at Cole. He was guiding you out of it. The captain said nothing. It made sense. Too much sense. Holt folded his arms. So what now? We sit here while you explain the battlefield to us. Maya turned toward him. No. You stopped talking long enough to hear it. A few heads shifted. Holt's face hardened. You walked in here 5 minutes ago. 6. You don't know these men. I know they're tired. Her gaze moved across the team. I know 2 of them are wounded. 1 is losing strength. Your radio is damaged. Your ammunition is unevenly distributed, and the enemy has at least 2 elevated positions. She looked back at Holt. And I know you've been watching the wrong building. The words landed harder than an insult. Holt stepped closer. I was top shot in my advanced marksman course. Maya's expression remained still. Then your instructor failed you. Cole moved between them. That's enough. No, sir, Holt said. She wants control of this position without giving us a name, a rank, or a unit. He pointed toward her rifle. She carries expensive equipment and talks like she's seen everything. That doesn't make her qualified. Maya glanced at the weapon. This rifle is 12 years old. That's supposed to impress me? No. She closed the lens cover. It's supposed to tell you I don't need expensive equipment. One of the younger rangers looked away, hiding the beginning of a smile. Holt noticed. His voice dropped. I lost a man 20 minutes ago trying to find that shooter. Maya's eyes shifted to him. The anger in Holt's face was no longer pride alone. There was grief beneath it. Fresh and sharp. Name? She asked. Holt hesitated. Daniel Voss. Where was he hit? North wall. First shot. Third. Maya moved to the section of broken concrete Holt indicated. She crouched beside a dark stain in the dust and studied the bullet groove along the wall. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she looked at the window line across the street. Voss found him. Holt froze. What? The shooter changed position immediately after the 3rd round. How do you know? This impact came from a rushed angle. She traced the scar with one finger. Your man forced him to move. Holt's jaw tightened. He never fired. He didn't need to. Maya stood. He saw something. The enemy saw him seeing it. The street went quiet between bursts of distant gunfire. Holt looked toward the north wall, as if Daniel Voss might still be there. Maya softened her voice, but only slightly. Your man wasn't careless. Holt said nothing. He was close. For the first time since she arrived, the challenge left his eyes. Not trust. Not yet. But something had shifted. Then a radio cracked from inside Maya's vest. A broken voice pushed through the static. Cross, if you reached Ranger 2, respond. Every man turned toward her. Maya pressed the transmitter. Cross here. The voice on the other end exhaled in relief. Command confirms enemy movement from the east. Multiple hostiles. Possible explosives team. Cole looked at the alley. Maya had been right. The radio continued. Ranger 2 is to follow your direction until extraction. Holt stared at her. Who are you? Maya released the transmitter. Before she could answer, a rifle cracked from the northern building. She grabbed Cole by the vest and pulled him down. The round tore through the wall where his head had been. Maya lifted her rifle. Her voice stayed calm. Someone who just saved your captain. Then she looked through the scope. And now I'm going to find the man who killed Daniel Voss. Maya did not fire. That unsettled Holt more than anything else. She had the rifle shouldered, the scope aligned, and a clear angle. Through the broken concrete. Yet her finger rested outside the trigger guard. She was waiting. Across the street, the northern building stood silent behind drifting dust. 6 floors of shattered windows. Black rooms. Torn curtains breathing in the wind. Any one of them could hide a shooter. Maya watched all of them. Captain Cole crouched beside her, still feeling the place where her hand had seized his vest. How did you know? The glass changed. He looked toward the window. I didn't see anything. You were looking for a man. What were you looking for? Pressure. A faint movement passed through the curtain on the 5th floor. Maya shifted the rifle 2 inches left, then stopped again. Holt knelt behind the opposite side of the wall. You have a target? I have bait. He frowned. Maya pointed toward a fractured mirror hanging inside an abandoned shop. Its reflection captured a narrow slice of the building across the street. The shooter knows we saw his last position, she said. He expects us to watch the window. Cole understood first. He moved deeper into the room. Maya nodded. And he's using the glass to observe us. Holt looked at the mirror. All he saw was smoke and light. Maya removed a small metal tool from her vest and placed it on the ground near the wall opening. Then she slid the tip of her rifle barrel forward just far enough to become visible from the street. Holt grabbed her shoulder. That's exactly what he wants. Yes. Then why give it to him? Because people reveal themselves when they believe they're in control. She angled the metal tool against a piece of broken concrete. Sunlight caught its surface. A small flash jumped across the street. The enemy fired instantly. The round struck the exposed edge of the wall, spraying fragments over Maya's sleeve. She was already moving. She pulled the rifle back, rolled toward a second opening, and pressed her eye to the scope. 7 seconds, she said. Cole glanced at her. What? He waited 7 seconds after the reflection. Holt leaned closer to the bullet scar. 5th floor. No, Maya adjusted elevation. 4th. Holt studied the angle. The shot had sounded higher. The echoes made the building feel taller than it was. Every hard surface in the street bent the sound and returned it from a different direction. Maya had ignored the noise. She was reading the impact. He's firing through the 5th floor opening, she said. But the rifle is positioned 1 level below. Cole looked toward the building. A false port. He removed part of the ceiling. Holt's disbelief returned. You can't know that. Maya's gaze remained in the scope. The bullet descended less than the sound suggested. He's using the upper room as an echo chamber. She turned a dial by 2 clicks. He wants us looking above him. Holt examined the scar again. This time he saw it. The entry angle was too shallow. Maya had seen the truth in less than a second. Cole checked the alley behind them. How long before the explosives team reaches position? For minutes, Carter answered from the radio. Cole looked at Maya. Can you take the shooter? Yes. Holt moved beside her. Then do it. No, his head snapped toward her. You just said you could. I can hit him. Then what are you waiting for? The second shooter. Silence settled over the position. Maya shifted the rifle toward the western roofline. The man who fired at Cole wasn't the one who killed Voss. Holt stared at her. How do you know? Different ammunition. She touched the fresh damage in the wall. Steel core round. Higher velocity. Then she pointed toward the older bullet groove near the north wall. Voss was hit by a heavier projectile with a slower impact pattern. Cole felt the trap widening around them. One shooter keeps us focused north, and the other watches the escape route, Maya said. Holt looked toward the eastern alley. So we have 2 snipers and an explosives team. 3 elements. Maya lifted her head from the scope. They're coordinating. A shadow moved behind the 4th floor opening. Holt saw it this time. There. Maya did not look. That's the decoy. A shape appeared for half a second in the broken glass above. Holt raised his rifle. Maya pressed the barrel down. Don't. The shape vanished. A shot cracked from the west. The round passed through the space where Holt's head had been. He dropped behind cover, breathing hard. Maya was already facing the other direction. Her scope settled on a narrow ventilation opening almost 400 meters away. I told you, she said. Holt looked at the fresh hole in the wall. The enemy had used his impatience against him. Maya waited until his breathing slowed. You wanted to prove you could see him. Her voice was quiet. He wanted the same thing. Holt swallowed his answer. Cole raised the radio. Cross, we're out of time. Maya checked the wind meter. The numbers changed. Hot air was rising between the buildings, twisting the dust into uneven currents. The shot would cross 2 streets, pass above a burning vehicle, and enter a target opening barely wider than a man's hand. She adjusted the rifle. 3 clicks right. 1 down. Then she removed her glove. Holt watched the comm return to her hand. No tremor. No hesitation. Nothing wasted. What do you need? He asked. It was the first time he had asked instead of challenged. Maya glanced toward him. When I fire, the northern shooter will move. Holt raised his rifle. Where? 5th floor window. Left side. You said he was on the 4th. He is. Maya settled behind the scope. But fear will make him climb. Cole looked from one shooter to the other. For the first time since the ambush began, the Rangers were no longer reacting. They were setting the battlefield. Maya inhaled slowly. On my shot, she said. The ventilation opening darkened. A face appeared behind it. Maya's finger touched the trigger. Now. Maya fired first. The rifle kicked once against her shoulder. Across the street, the narrow ventilation opening vanished in a burst of dust. Before the sound finished rolling through the district, Holt shifted his aim toward the 5th floor window. Nothing. For half a second, the building remained still. Then a man lunged upward from the 4th floor, exactly as Maya had predicted. Fear made him move fast. Training made Holt faster. He fired. The second shot cracked above the burning vehicles, and the figure disappeared behind the window frame. Silence followed. Not peace. Just the brief, unnatural pause that came when everyone on a battlefield realized the pattern had changed. Maya kept her eye against the scope. North shooter is moving, Holt said. I know. You think I hit him? If you missed, he would have fired back. Holt exhaled slowly. It was not praise. But for Maya, it felt close. Captain Cole raised the damaged radio. Carter, report. Static hissed. Then the medic's voice came through. Enemy chatter just spiked. Multiple voices east of our position. Maya turned toward the alley. They know their overwatch is gone. Cole checked his watch. Explosives team? Less than 3 minutes. The Rangers shifted behind cover. Magazines were checked. Wounded men were pulled closer to the wall. Every movement was faster now, but no longer desperate. Maya had given the chaos a shape. Holt crawled beside her. What's the plan? She looked at him. Minutes earlier, he had questioned whether she belonged in the street. Now he was waiting for her answer. We make them believe the alley is still our only exit. Cole understood. You want to draw the explosives team in. I want them close enough to expose themselves. And if they trigger the charges? They won't. Holt frowned. How can you be sure? Maya pointed toward a broken balcony overlooking the alley entrance. A command wire runs through that building. The team is still connecting the final section. She raised the optic. They need visual confirmation before they close the circuit. Cole studied the structure. A torn curtain moved in one window. Behind it, something metallic reflected the light. There, he said. Maya nodded. Trigger man. Holt lifted his rifle. I can take him. No, he glanced at her. You don't trust the shot? I don't trust what happens after it. Maya shifted the optic lower. 2 figures moved behind a collapsed storefront near the alley mouth. One carried a coil of wire. The other held a radio and kept looking toward the rooftops. They're waiting for sniper confirmation, she said. But both shooters are down, Cole replied. They don't know that yet. Maya removed an empty casing from the ground and tossed it toward the western opening. The casing struck the pavement with a faint metallic sound. A burst of gunfire answered from the alley. Rounds tore into the wall, forcing the Rangers lower. Holt looked at her. That wasn't a sniper. No, Maya watched the muzzle flashes. It was cover fire. The enemy team was nervous. Nervous men exposed themselves. She counted the bursts. 1 long, 2 short. A pause. Then another burst from a slightly different angle. 3 riflemen, she said. 1 behind the blue door, 2 beside the storefront. Cole raised his hand, signaling positions to the Rangers. Maya continued. Do not fire until the man with the wire reaches the center of the alley. Reeves stared at her. Why let him get closer? Because the charges are incomplete. She looked at the dust near the passage. The wire team has the detonators. The trigger man has the signal. Separate them, and the trap dies. Holt shifted his rifle toward the storefront. I'll take the radio. Not yet. The figure carrying the wires stepped into view. He moved cautiously, staying close to the wall. Behind him, the man with the radio gave a hand signal. Maya watched through the scope. Holt. The Rangers stayed still. The wire carrier reached the middle of the alley. Holt. A second figure appeared behind him. Then a third. Holt's breathing slowed. Cole's hand remained raised. The entire team waited on Maya's voice. The trigger man leaned from behind the curtain. His thumb moved toward the radio. Maya fired. The radio flew from his hand and shattered against the wall. Now, the Rangers opened fire. Controlled bursts struck the storefront and doorway. The enemy riflemen dropped behind cover, cut off from the alley team. Holt fired once. The wire carrier fell, releasing the coil. Reeves and Carter covered the southern entrance while Cole directed 2 Rangers toward the wounded men. The ambush lasted 11 seconds. Then it was over. Smoke drifted through the alley. No explosion came. Maya lifted her head. Charges are inactive. Cole stared at the route that had nearly become their grave. You saved the entire team. Maya checked her chamber. No. She looked toward the northern building. I stopped the first trap. Holt followed her gaze. High above them, a red light blinked. Once from the roof. Then twice. Maya's expression changed. That's not a signal. A low mechanical hum rose behind the buildings. Cole looked toward the sky. What is it? Maya closed the rifle case halfway, leaving the weapon ready. Drone guidance. The Rangers turned as a dark shape passed through the smoke overhead. Maya stood. And now they know exactly where we are. The drone crossed above the street without lights. It was small enough to disappear against the smoke, but its engine carried a thin metallic whine that sharpened as it circled back. Maya looked up once. Everyone off the north wall. Cole did not question her. Move. The Rangers pulled the wounded men away from the concrete, just as a red beam swept across the place where they had been crouching. A second later, the wall exploded. The blast threw dust and fragments through the position. Cole hit the ground beside an overturned table. Holt rolled behind a damaged vehicle, shielding his rifle with his body. Reeves cried out. Maya found him beneath a section of broken plaster. Blood ran from a cut above his eye, but he was conscious. Can you move? I think so. That wasn't the question. Reeves forced his legs beneath him. Yes. Then move. She pulled him toward the center of the building as the drone climbed for another pass. Cole wiped dust from his face. Missile. Guided grenade, Maya said. Limited payload. How many? Usually 4. Holt looked at the destroyed wall. Usually? Maya checked the sky through a hole in the ceiling. That was 1. The Rangers spread through the lower floor. They had survived the snipers and disabled the alley trap, but the drone had taken away their cover. Every damaged roof and open courtyard could now become a targeting point. Carter crouched beside the radio. Command says extraction aircraft are 8 minutes out. Cole looked toward the ceiling. We don't have 8 minutes. The drone turned above the block. Its hum grew louder. Maya followed the sound instead of the aircraft. South room, she said. Cole pointed to 2 Rangers. Go. They dragged the wounded men through a narrow doorway. Holt stayed near Maya. How are you tracking it without seeing it? The engine pitch changes when it banks. You can hear that through the gunfire? She glanced at him. You can't. The drone dropped lower. A red beam appeared through the dust, moving across the floor toward Carter's radio. Maya grabbed the handset and threw it through an open window. The second grenade followed the signal. It detonated outside. The shock wave blew the remaining glass inward, but the Rangers were already below the window line. Cole stared at the burning radio. It targeted the transmission. It's following more than heat, Maya said. It's reading electronics. Holt looked down at the equipment attached to his vest. Radios, optics, range finders, anything broadcasting. Cole understood. Kill the power. The order moved through the team. Radios went silent. Digital optics were shut down. Tracking devices disappeared into protective pouches. The room darkened as the Rangers stripped themselves of every electronic advantage they had relied on. For the first time, the drone passed without firing. Holt listened to the fading hum. It lost us. No, Maya said. We stopped helping it. She removed the battery from her weather meter and returned to the broken stairwell. Cole followed. We still need to move the wounded. The alley remains the best route. It's exposed. That's why they won't expect us to use it now. Holt joined them. The explosives are inactive, but the enemy riflemen are still near the storefront. Maya checked the remaining ammunition in her magazine. 2, maybe 3. And the drone. 3 grenades left. Cole looked at the street map. Can we destroy it? Maya listened as the engine circled west. Not with a clean shot. Holt raised his rifle. Then we force it lower. For the first time, Maya looked at him with something close to approval. How? Holt pointed toward the abandoned convoy. The vehicles still have emergency transmitters. Cole saw the idea forming. You want to give it a target. A loud one, Holt said. Maya studied the street. The lead transport sat 40 meters away, partially hidden behind smoke. Its emergency beacon had been damaged, but the backup system might still function. Reaching it meant crossing open ground. Cole shook his head. No one makes that run. Maya was already removing the scarf from her shoulders. Holt blocked her path. You've done enough. This isn't about enough. You go out there, the drone gets a clean angle. That's the point. Holt stared at her. Maya tied the scarf around a broken length of pipe, creating a rough marker. I activate the beacon. The drone commits to the vehicle. And when it fires, you take the shot. Holt looked toward the sky. I can't track something that small through smoke. You don't track it. She handed him the weather meter. You watch the scarf. He looked at the cloth. When the downdraft pulls it straight down, the drone is directly above the vehicle. Cole stepped forward. One shot. One chance, Maya said. The hum returned. Closer now. Maya checked the distance to the convoy, lowered her body, and placed one hand against the broken doorway. Holt settled behind his rifle. What happens if I miss? Maya looked toward the red beam beginning to sweep through the smoke. Then it won't be your problem for long. She ran. Bullets struck the street behind her as the remaining enemy riflemen opened fire from the storefront. Maya did not slow. She reached the vehicle, tore open the emergency panel, and forced the damaged beacon alive. A piercing signal filled the block. Above her, the drone changed direction. Holt watched the scarf. It fluttered left, then right, then suddenly snapped downward. Now, Maya shouted. Holt fired. The round disappeared into the smoke. For one endless second, nothing happened. Then the drone fell through the haze, spinning toward the abandoned vehicle. Maya looked up. The remaining grenades were still attached. She turned and ran. The drone struck the convoy behind her. The entire street became white fire. The explosion lifted Maya off her feet. She struck the pavement shoulder first and rolled behind the remains of a concrete barrier as burning metal rained across the street. For several seconds, the world became sound without shape. A deep pressure filled her ears. Dust covered the sky. Something heavy crashed against the side of the ruined convoy. Then silence returned in pieces. Maya, Holt's voice came through the smoke. She tried to answer, but the air had been knocked from her lungs. Pain spread beneath her ribs when she forced herself onto one knee. The drone was gone. So was half the lead vehicle. Flames climbed from the wreckage, throwing black smoke between the buildings and cutting the enemy's view of the street. Maya touched her side. No blood. Not enough to matter. I'm moving, she called. Holt appeared through the haze with 2 rangers behind him. They reached her position and pulled her behind the broken storefront before the remaining enemy riflemen could fire again. Cole crouched near the wounded men. Status. Hearing's bad, Maya said. Ribs are fine. Holt looked at the way she guarded her left side. That didn't look fine. It doesn't need to look fine. A burst of gunfire struck the outer wall. The surviving enemy team had recovered. Cole checked the eastern alley. Smoke now covered most of the route, but it would not last. Wind was already breaking the cloud apart. Extraction is 6 minutes out, Carter said. They need a marked landing zone. Nothing here is clear enough, Cole replied. Maya looked beyond the alley. At the far end of the block stood an old-school courtyard, enclosed on 3 sides and open toward the southern road. The ground was flat enough for a helicopter. It was also controlled by the enemy. She reached for the map. Move the wounded through the alley. Use the smoke. Cole followed her finger. The courtyard. It gives the aircraft cover on approach. It also gives the enemy high ground. Only if they keep it. Holt studied her face. You're planning to clear it. Maya loaded a fresh magazine. We are. Cole divided the rangers into 2 groups. Carter would move with the wounded. Reeves and 2 others would cover the alley entrance. Holt would stay with Maya and take the upper windows. No one questioned her anymore. That was what changed first. Not the battlefield. The men. Minutes earlier, they had watched her as an outsider with a rifle. Now they watched for her signal. Maya moved first. She crossed the alley low, using the smoke and broken vehicles as cover. Holt followed 3 steps behind, matching her pace. A rifleman appeared near the blue door. Maya fired once. The man dropped back out of sight. Left window, she said. Holt turned and fired before the second enemy could expose more than a shoulder. They reached the far wall. Maya listened. Footsteps above. 2 men descending quickly. She pointed to the stairwell. Holt took the right side. Maya took the left. The door burst open. The first hostile stepped through with his weapon raised. Holt drove him back with a controlled shot. The second tried to retreat upstairs. Maya caught him before he reached the landing. The building fell quiet. Holt looked at her. You knew there were 2. They were trying not to step on the broken glass. He glanced toward the floor. Only then did he notice the narrow trail where dust had shifted around the shards. Maya moved on. They entered the school courtyard through a collapsed side entrance. The space was wide, empty, and filled with abandoned desks. A faded flag hung above the main doors. Bullet marks covered the walls. Cole's group emerged from the alley behind them, carrying the wounded. Then Maya saw the rifle barrel. 3rd floor. Southern building. Down. She shoved Holt behind a stone planter as a round cut across the courtyard. The enemy sniper had survived. Not the decoy. The other one. The man who had killed Daniel Voss. Holt raised his rifle, but Maya pressed him lower. He has elevation. He also has our landing zone. The sniper fired again. The round struck near the medics, forcing them behind a row of concrete steps. Carter shouted from cover. We can't move, Shaw. Maya studied the windows. No curtain movement. No reflection. The shooter had changed his method. He knew she was hunting him now. Holt watched the 3rd floor. Can you see him? No, can you hear him? Maya waited. The distant fire. The helicopter approaching from the south. The wounded men breathing behind the steps. Then, a soft scrape. Metal against tile. He's prone, she said. Room behind the center window. That window is boarded. Exactly. Holt looked at the narrow gaps between the wooden planks. No clear shot. Maya rested. Her rifle on the planter. The helicopter's sound grew louder. The sniper would wait until it entered the courtyard. 1 shot into the cockpit. 1 shot into the medic team. He could turn rescue into disaster. Cole crawled toward Maya. We have 90 seconds. Maya adjusted the scope. The angle was impossible from the ground. The board covered nearly the entire window, leaving only a dark line near the bottom. Holt shook his head. You can't make that shot. Maya breathed out slowly. No. She looked toward a shattered classroom window on the 2nd floor of the building beside them. But I can make the next one. She stood. Cole grabbed her sleeve. Where are you going? To give him a better target. Holt understood. You want him to fire. I want him to believe he has me. The helicopter appeared beyond the rooftops. Maya ran toward the exposed staircase. The sniper's boarded window darkened. Holt lifted his rifle. Maya. She reached the 2nd floor landing. A muzzle flash burned through the narrow gap. Maya dropped before the shot arrived. Holt saw the barrel. Just 1 inch of black metal beneath the board. Enough. He fired. The rifle disappeared. No second shot came. Maya rose slowly and looked toward the silent window. Holt kept his scope fixed on it. Is he down? Maya listened to the courtyard, then to the room above. Nothing moved. Yes. Holt lowered his rifle. For Voss. Maya looked at him. For the team. The helicopter descended through the smoke. As the wounded Rangers were carried toward it, the command radio finally came alive with a clear signal. Ranger 2, be advised. Identify Captain Cross for the extraction record. Cole turned toward Maya. The controller continued. Captain Maya Cross. Former Special Operations Sniper Instructor. Clearance level black. Holt stared at her. The voice on the radio hesitated before adding one final line. She wrote the urban counter-sniper doctrine your regiment currently uses. Around the courtyard, every ranger went still. Maya closed the bolt on her rifle. Get the wounded aboard. Cole watched her walk toward the southern entrance to cover the extraction. She had no visible rank. No unit patch. No need to explain herself. The battlefield had already done it for her. The helicopter descended into the courtyard beneath a storm of dust. Its rotors tore loose papers from the abandoned classrooms and sent broken glass skittering across the concrete. The faded flag above the school entrance snapped violently in the wind. Cole raised one arm and guided the aircraft down. Move the wounded first. Carter and Reeves carried Shaw toward the open cabin. 2 Rangers followed with the second casualty, keeping their bodies low beneath the spinning blades. Maya remained near the southern entrance. Her rifle rested against her shoulder. Her eyes stayed on the rooftops beyond the courtyard. The enemy sniper was down. The explosives team had been broken. The drone was destroyed. But the city had not gone quiet. A distant engine growled somewhere behind the southern buildings. Then another. Maya looked toward the road. Cole. He heard the warning in her voice and turned. At the far end of the street, 2 armored trucks emerged through the smoke. Men stood behind mounted weapons in the rear compartments. Reinforcements. Cole looked at the helicopter. The first wounded ranger was aboard, but the second had only reached the edge of the landing zone. We need 30 seconds. You have 20, Maya said. Holt joined her beside the entrance. His breathing was controlled now. His rifle moved where hers moved, no longer fighting her judgment. Vehicles are too heavy for our rifles. We don't need to stop the vehicles. Maya studied the street. The first truck was moving faster. The second remained close behind it, using the lead vehicle as cover. The road narrowed near a collapsed apartment building where concrete and twisted steel formed a tight passage. She pointed toward a damaged water tower above the intersection. You see the support cable? Holt followed her aim. A thick metal line ran from the tower to an anchor fixed near the street. The explosion from the convoy had weakened the structure, leaving the tower tilted toward the road. You want to drop it? I want to close the street. That cable is nearly 500 meters out. 462. Holt looked at her. You measured it? I counted the buildings. The mounted weapon on the first truck opened fire. Rounds struck the courtyard walls, breaking stone from the doorway. Maya and Holt dropped behind cover. Cole shouted from the helicopter. 10 seconds. Holt raised his rifle toward the cable. The angle is bad. Yes. The anchor is hidden behind concrete. Not all of it. Maya pointed toward a thin silver section exposed above the rubble. The target was narrower than a finger at that distance. Wind moved hard through the street, disturbed by the helicopter's rotors and heat rising from the burning convoy. Holt looked through his scope. I can't hold steady. Maya placed one hand against the side of his rifle. Don't fight the movement. He glanced at her. Let the wind bring the target back. The trucks advanced. 400 meters. 380. Maya watched the damaged tower. One round won't cut it. Holt understood. We alternate. You fire high. I fire low. And if we miss? We don't. They settled beside each other. 2 rifles. 1 target. The first truck reached the narrow section of road. Maya breathed out. Now. Holt fired. His round struck the upper edge of the exposed cable, tearing loose a burst of metal. Maya fired half a second later. Her bullet hit below his. The cable twisted, but held. The mounted gun turned toward the school entrance. Again, Maya said. Holt adjusted. They fired together. The weakened cable snapped. For one silent moment, nothing happened. Then the water tower shifted. Steel groaned above the intersection. The massive structure leaned farther, tearing free from its base. The lead truck tried to accelerate through the gap. It was too late. The tower collapsed across the road, striking the front of the vehicle and filling the narrow passage with steel, water, and broken concrete. The second truck braked hard behind it. The route was sealed. Maya stood. Get aboard. Holt remained beside her. You first. That's not how this works. Enemy soldiers climbed from the blocked trucks and began moving through the rubble. Cole leaned from the helicopter door. Cross. Holt. Move. Holt fired 2 covering shots. Maya fired 3. They retreated across the courtyard, taking turns moving while the other covered. The distance to the helicopter felt longer with every step. Reeves reached from the cabin and grabbed Holt's vest. Holt climbed aboard, then turned for Maya. She was 10 feet away when gunfire struck the ground around her. She dropped behind a stone bench. The helicopter lifted slightly as the pilot struggled against the crosswind. Cole shouted into the intercom. Hold position. We can't stay, the pilot answered. They're bringing up a launcher. Maya saw it. A man near the blocked truck raised a tube-shaped weapon toward the helicopter. The shot was too far for speed, too narrow for hesitation. Maya dropped to one knee in the open courtyard. Holt reached toward her from the cabin. Maya moved. She ignored him. The launcher operator settled the weapon on his shoulder. Maya placed the rifle against hers. Inhaled. Exhaled. Fired. The launcher fell from the man's hands before he could aim. Maya ran. Holt caught her wrist as she reached the helicopter. Cole seized the back of her vest, and together they pulled her into the cabin. The aircraft climbed above the courtyard. Enemy fire followed them, growing weaker as the school disappeared beneath smoke. Inside, no one spoke for several seconds. The wounded lay secured on the floor. Carter monitored their breathing. Reeves sat against the cabin wall, staring at Maya as if seeing her for the first time. Holt removed his helmet. You could have left with the first group. Maya checked the chamber of her rifle. So could you. He looked toward the wounded Rangers. That's different. No, she said. It isn't. Cole sat opposite her. Command called you an instructor. Maya said nothing. They said you wrote our doctrine. I helped write it. Holt lowered his eyes. Every insult he had thrown at her returned in the noise of the helicopter. The outdated rifle. The missing patch. The assumption that she had wandered into their fight without understanding it. I called you unqualified, he said. Maya wiped dust from the scope. You did. I was wrong. She looked at him. Outside, the war zone fell away beneath the aircraft. You were afraid, she said. Fear looks for something simple to blame. Holt waited. Maya returned her attention to the rifle. Next time, make sure it isn't the person trying to save you. Across the cabin, Reeves looked toward the woman they had once mistaken for a lost support soldier. No one cheered. No one needed to. One by one, the Rangers straightened in their seats. And for the first time since Maya Cross had stepped into their war zone, every man in the aircraft looked at her with the same expression. Not surprise. Not fear. Respect. The helicopter touched down at the forward operating base just after sunset. The landing zone glowed beneath rows of yellow floodlights. Medical teams waited beside wheeled stretchers, their uniforms snapping in the rotor wash as the aircraft settled onto the concrete. The cabin doors opened. Carter moved first. 2 wounded. 1 critical, but stable. Medics rushed forward and carried Shaw from the helicopter. Reeves followed beside the second stretcher, refusing to let go until a surgeon placed a hand on his shoulder and told him they had control. Cole stepped onto the landing pad. Holt came after him. Maya was last. She descended with the rifle case in one hand and the same dust-covered field pack over her shoulder. Her uniform was torn at the sleeve. A dark bruise had already begun to spread beneath her left collarbone. She did not look toward the officers gathering near the command building. She looked toward the medical station. Only after she saw both wounded Rangers disappear safely through the doors did she begin walking toward the armory. Captain Cross. The voice came from behind her. Colonel Marcus Vale stood at the edge of the landing zone with 3 senior officers beside him. Vale commanded the regional task force, and every soldier on the pad recognized him immediately. Maya stopped. The Rangers stopped with her. Vale approached slowly, his eyes moving from the damaged rifle case to the blood and dust on Maya's uniform. We lost contact with Ranger 2 for 58 minutes, he said. Then command received a partial transmission stating that the team had been recovered by 1 sniper. Maya said nothing. Vale looked toward Cole. Captain. Cole stood straighter. She found us after our communications failed. Identified 2 enemy shooters, exposed an explosives team, disabled a drone attack, secured the extraction route, and held the landing zone until every wounded man was aboard. Vale turned toward Holt. And the enemy sniper? Holt's jaw tightened. Neutralized, sir. By Captain Cross? Holt looked at Maya. No, sir. The colonel waited. Holt continued. She gave me the shot. That answer seemed to matter more. Vale nodded once. That sounds like her. A few of the younger Rangers exchanged glances. Maya's history was clearly not a mystery to the colonel. Holt looked toward Vale. Sir, permission to ask a question? Ask. Why was she sent alone? Vale studied him. She wasn't sent. The landing zone went quiet. Cole frowned. Then how did she know we were trapped? She was returning from a reconnaissance assignment when your emergency signal disappeared. Vale looked at Maya. She changed course without authorization. One of the officers beside him shifted uncomfortably. Maya remained still. Cole stepped forward. Sir, without her, I know exactly what would have happened without her. Vale's voice was firm, but not angry. He faced Maya. You disobeyed your route order. Yes, sir. You entered an active kill zone without support. Yes, sir. You used classified field authority to assume control of a ranger element. Yes, sir. Vale paused. And you brought every surviving man home. Maya held his gaze. Yes, sir. For several seconds, the colonel said nothing. Then he extended his hand. Maya looked at it before accepting. You'll file the longest report of your career tomorrow, Vale said. A trace of exhaustion passed through her expression. Yes, sir. And after that, you're taking 48 hours off. That won't be necessary. It wasn't a request. A few rangers almost smiled. Vale released her hand and looked toward the team. These men trained under Doctrine Captain Cross helped build. Some of their instructors trained under her directly. Holt lowered his eyes. Vale continued. She does not wear her record on her uniform. She does not introduce herself with her medals. And she does not explain what she has already proven. His attention settled on Holt. That sometimes confuses people who mistake silence for weakness. No one moved. Maya closed the rifle case. Colonel, the team completed the extraction under pressure. Sergeant Holt made the shot that removed the final threat. Captain Cole maintained command after losing communications. Vale looked at her. You're redirecting credit. I'm reporting facts. That was Maya. Even now, standing beneath the lights with an entire ranger team alive because of her, she refused to make the moment about herself. Vale nodded toward the armory. Get your weapon checked. Maya saluted. Then she walked away. Later that night, Holt found her alone at a maintenance table. The armory was almost silent. A ventilation fan turned slowly above her, moving the smell of oil and hot metal through the room. The sniper rifle lay disassembled in front of her. Each piece rested in a straight line. Holt stopped near the doorway. Maya did not look up. You're favoring your left side, he said. I've been told. You should be at medical. So should your pride. He almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he stepped closer and removed the ranger tab from the spare patch on his vest. He placed it on the table. Maya glanced at it. What is this? An apology. That's fabric. It means more than that to me. I know. Holt waited for her to take it. She did not. I thought you were lost, he said. Then I thought you were reckless. After that, I decided you were arrogant. Maya continued cleaning the bolt assembly. You changed your mind quickly. I was wrong quickly. That made her pause. Holt looked toward the rifle. Daniel Voss was my responsibility. Maya set the cloth down. He was a ranger in a kill zone. The responsibility belonged to the enemy. I should have seen the second shooter. You'll see him next time. Holt's voice lowered. You really believe that? Maya looked at him. I wouldn't have given you the final shot if I didn't. The words struck deeper than praise. Holt pushed the patch toward her. Keep it anyway. Maya picked it up. For one moment, he believed. She might accept it. Then she placed it back in his hand. You earned this before today. Holt closed his fingers around it. What did you earn? Maya returned to the rifle. A team that listens faster. The next morning, she crossed the base before sunrise. Her uniform was clean. The rifle case rested against her shoulder. No ceremony had been announced. No formation had been ordered. But outside the operations building, Ranger 2 was waiting. Cole stood at the front. Holt beside him. Rees wore a bandage above his eye. Carter had come directly from the medical station. Even Shaw, pale and exhausted, watched from a wheelchair near the doorway. Maya slowed. What is this? Cole stepped forward. Nothing official. That usually means something unnecessary. Probably. He moved aside. The Rangers stood in two silent rows. No one gave a command. No officer raised his voice. Yet as Maya passed between them, each man lifted a hand in salute. Holt was last. He held her gaze. We needed a savior, he said. Maya stopped. No. She looked toward the medical station, where the wounded were alive. You needed discipline, timing, and a clear field of fire. Holt lowered his hand. And you? Maya considered the words. Then she gave a small nod and continued walking. She did not turn back. She did not need to see whether they were still watching. The night before, they had searched the smoke for someone powerful enough to save them. What stepped out of that smoke was not a legend demanding recognition. It was a soldier who understood the battlefield, trusted the team, and stayed until everyone else was safe. Respect had not arrived with her title. It had not come from the colonel's praise or the classified record attached to her name. She had earned it one decision at a time. One warning. One impossible shot. One life brought home. And long after Maya Cross disappeared beyond the armory doors, Sergeant Derek Holt remained beneath the morning light, holding the ranger tab she had returned to him. He finally understood. Respect was never something the strongest person demanded. It was what remained after the danger was over, and everyone remembered who stood firm when it mattered.